And how are you treated as a coach of a wheelchair player? Do you feel, and maybe this has changed a little bit now that Alfie's gone into a bit of a different dimension in terms of his profile. So maybe the question is not just to you, but to coaches of wheelchair players. Do they get the respect that they deserve, or do you think within our industry, it's almost pushed a little bit to the side?
Yeah, I think that the wheelchair coaches over the years would have always received respect to a degree,
Yep.
but I think even more so now, and the recognition of the sport helps that. So I'm not saying that wheelchair tennis has just all of a sudden grown massively just in these last 2 or 3 years. It's been growing for some
It
time.
has. Yep.
However, Wimbledon taken a punt 2 years ago, and it was all because Rafael Nadal pulled out injured at Wimbledon. So we're at home on the Thursday night. Alfie's going to play the semi-finals of Wimbledon on the Friday, and he's on court three. Rafa pulls out injured in 2022 on Thursday night, and it's a court change, and they put him on court one on the Friday, and he basically played both semi-finals on court one. And for 50 minutes, he was getting his butt whooped, and it looked like it was going to be a bit of a sour note for the 6 to 7 thousand people watching. But he turned it around and won. And he will never stop talking about that match to this day. And then goes out with Gordon later on and plays another 3 hours and 20 minutes in the doubles and wins that. If you needed anything to put wheelchair tennis on the map in this country that day did it, and that sold it to Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And then for me as a coach sitting there, difference between sitting there on court 14, which was pretty nice, but I watched Lewis Burton play on court 16.
Yep.
And so I'd kind of done that before, but it was nice watching court 14. But sitting out there on court one and looking around and going, there's 6 or 7 thousand people who are choosing to be in here and watch two guys in wheelchairs. And Gordon couldn't have put it any better last year when they won their fifth doubles. And he remembers 20 whenever, when there was his mum, dad, and a dog watching out on court 22, to now 10,000 people standing ovation, to the point that those two boys were almost crying on match point last year
Yeah.
because
That
they
was
couldn't
special. That was
believe what was
special.
going on. And I turned to Martin Waite, who's been around in wheelchair tennis for longer than most, and I said, Martin, pinch yourself for a moment. That ain't Andy Murray out there that the crowd are going mad for. That's four guys in wheelchairs. Like, yeah, and he's been there from the 90s seeing wheelchair tennis. It was absolutely amazing. So, because of the growth of the sport, we as coaches then get a little bit more recognition. I mean, the interaction now at the slams between the wheelchair players and the able-bodied players is superb. I mean, Miami this year, Sinner getting in a chair, that went
Yeah.
viral, that video, having a go. The number one player in the world looking like he didn't know how to play tennis in a wheelchair. So good. Quite often, we're fortunate that we're around on finals days at Grand Slam, and so is Novak or Carlos. And there is an acknowledgement. Medvedev, there is an acknowledgement from those guys to the wheelies now, because they see them say the wheelies. That was a term I heard like a year or two ago. They were called the wheelies. So I just threw that one out there randomly. I actually rarely use that word, but there's a recognition and an acknowledgement of them now, which is great. And look, there's also going to be some coaches out there still pretty skeptical about, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Well, I'll tell you why I'm doing it, because this guy is an unbelievable athlete and person to work for and work with. I'm getting to sit there every Grand Slam, 10 in a row now, and sit in the player's box, watching a player that I'm investing lots of time and energy into, seeing him chase his dreams. And I thought I was going to fall apart, like when he won Wimbledon. I thought I would absolutely lose it, because inside the emotion is immeasurable. Because not only am I really pleased for myself, it's mainly that this guy gets to get a big monkey off his back, but he's achieving his dreams, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of it. And so why wouldn't you enjoy being, so that's the lights go off in here. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? I don't care if he's in a wheelchair or standing or
Absolutely.
what, the feeling exactly the same. And incredible. And I think the last 2 years, being shortlisted for the Performance Coach of the Year was massive, because I don't think a wheelchair coach has ever been shortlisted for Performance Coach of the Year in GB before. So that was a really nice acknowledgement for me, and for even the LTA coaches, that one of their own had an acknowledgement. I mean, last year I lost out to Trotters, who was coaching Jack Draper, and this year I lost out to Biana, Katie Bolter's coach, and I was runner up. But just very nice as a coach to be considered alongside those. But I think also for the wheelchair players and the wheelchair team to think, well, we're getting the same recognition here. And not to mention BBC Sports Personality, which is obviously that's a whole other conversation, because obviously that's added the layer that you're talking about to his status as a person.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what, in terms of wheelchair tennis itself, how does the sport grow on this? Grow on this success that is happening? Are these pathways being opened up now? Are we making it more accessible? I know that's something that's important to Alfie and Gordon as well, and I'm sure everyone within the sport. Is it in a good place, and what can be done to make that even better?
Yeah, I mean, we've got two of the best ambassadors flying the flag, just wheelchair tennis in Great Britain, but in the world. The two of them, Gordon and Alfie, and look, not just them, Lucy in the females and Lapo in the quads. They're all successful. They've won Grand Slams, so children are going to see that. But more so now with Alfie and Gordon and the profile of their doubles, and then Alfie with the profile of his singles. They absolutely are aware of the power that they have and the legacy that they can create, and the amount of children that are going to pick up rackets. I mean, those Vodafone adverts from last year, hopefully you have seen it, and some of the listeners may have seen them. Oh my, I mean, how powerful, to the point that Vodafone thought, what can we do this year? There's no point trying to better that, because you're not going to better that. They were so powerful that I think they just used them again on their socials, because there's the two of them with their own stories, and all of those wheelchair players have got their stories, and here they are enjoying an incredible life playing wheelchair tennis. So there's the recognition right now that this is the biggest opportunity, and it doesn't come along too often in any sport, let alone a disability sport. There's an opportunity to absolutely strike.